Harry Potter and the AI Adventurers, written and read by an AI. Chapter 9, How long will it take to kill her? Harry asked curiously. About 10 minutes or less, Professor Dumbledore answered confidently. 10 minutes? Ron shrieked in panic. Why would you want Hermione to die 10 minutes after we find her? We can't lose her. Don't panic, Mr. Weasley. There is no need to panic. If you want her safe and alive, then you will do everything possible to make sure she survives. That includes making sure that you complete your tasks correctly, says Dumbledore sternly, his eyes boring into them. We are not children, sir. We aren't children anymore. So we don't need you to lecture us about doing our jobs correctly anymore, said Harry defiantly. Mr. Weasley, perhaps you should listen to the headmaster a little bit longer, Dumbledore said calmly. In all seriousness, however, don't hesitate when the time comes to strike. She is still important to me. Very important. But more importantly to your family. I shall see you in detention on Thursday, says Dumbledore, and with that, he walked past them, leaving them alone. If only Lupin was here, sighed Harry. Come on, let's save Hermione, Ron declared. As the two boys rushed off, Lupin was standing guard over Lockhart's body as Snape watched silently in the shadows behind his desk, waiting to hear if they could recover it. However, there was no sign of life, and he couldn't shake off the feeling that something bad was going to happen. Snape had no clue why the man was lying dead under his desk, nor how it all came to such an end, but he did understand that Lockhart had been involved somehow, and so Snape waited for Harry, Ron and Hermione to return. Harry and Ron returned shortly thereafter, having searched every room and corridor of Hogwarts once more looking for a way to save Hermione. They had been unsuccessful so far, however they were able to find a portrait of Hagrid. They tried talking to him but he wouldn't say anything, just stared at them coldly. Snape wondered how the man had gotten locked in there in the first place. Once Lockhart's body was discovered by Snape, Snape decided to question Harry. He was about to cast a spell when he noticed a peculiar movement. "Hang on," said Snape thoughtfully, walking slowly towards the door. After checking that there was nobody near, Snape made his move, grabbed a nearby chair and slammed it over Lockhart's corpse, covering him and making sure nobody would be able to identify the body. Then he quickly cast a disillusionment charm on himself and crept out of the office and made his way to the hospital wing. Snape had found himself lost in the castle's many corridors and stairways. He knew this because when he checked the map, he had marked the location as the hospital wing in case of emergency, but he didn't realize where it was located in the school. He had tried asking students, but most of them either ignored him or replied with some vague statement such as, "Sorry, Professor, I don't know which way it is. I was just taking a stroll." Eventually he gave up and started wandering around aimlessly looking for the hospital wing. Finally, when Snape was exhausted, he spotted a portrait of a lady with a white bobble hat. He approached her cautiously and whispered, "Excuse me, Madam Pomfrey, but I'm afraid I'm lost. Could you point me in the direction of the hospital wing?" The woman looked at him suspiciously before replying, "Well, I suppose I could, but I'll warn you, it's quite a ways away. You might get lost again." "Yes, well, I appreciate your assistance, Madam Pomfrey," Snape lied smoothly. "You really shouldn't trust anyone in this castle these days, Snape." Perhaps. Snape muttered, knowing full well he shouldn't trust anyone. After all, it was his job to keep them all safe, wasn't it? "Now look here, I'll tell you where the hospital wing is, just not right now. And if you're not back by dinner time, there won't be enough of me left to revive." "Of course, Madam Pomfrey," said Snape quietly, wondering how she would react if he suddenly transformed in front of her. "Thank you." The woman nodded curtly before disappearing. "She won't recognize me, right?" muttered Snape anxiously. As the students wandered about to their next lessons, they encountered a horrifying sight. Snape was completely naked, running on all four, thinking he was an animal. Some students laughed, some cried, some vomited and spontaneously combusted. The scene reminded them of their encounter earlier with Filch, and he had given them a hard time about it. However, now that they were seeing Snape running around like a maniac, they felt rather sorry for the poor professor. Dumbledore's speech had left them both shaken up and scared, especially as Harry and Ron were looking for a way to save Hermione from his grasp. As usual, Draco refused to believe that there was any possibility of saving her, and had gone off to find Crabbe and Goyle to try and distract them. And so Harry and Ron remained alone together while Snape stood at the front of the Great Hall waiting for everyone else to arrive. When they did finally turn up, it was clear that they hadn't stopped to discuss whether or not they should even bother looking for Hermione, since they hadn't seen her anywhere. "Where's Hermione?" Ron asked, looking nervously between Neville, Seamus, Dean, Ginny and Pansy, all of whom seemed equally anxious. "I heard you'd taken her away," Draco scoffed angrily. "No, we haven't," said Harry, trying to remain calm. "We haven't seen her anywhere. She must still be in the infirmary." "Oh, come on!" Ron shouted angrily. "We just tried stopping Dumbledore, and we came here to find a way to save her, only for Snape to run around naked. I've had enough." "Weasley, be quiet as I make my speech," Snape shouted, standing naked in the Great Hall. "Where was I?" "Oh yes. The girl has vanished." He paused. Ron snorted loudly. "So, you have no idea where she went?" Ron said, annoyed. "None at all," Snape admitted sadly, "although she was certainly nowhere near the chamber." He added in a mutter, "That's strange, isn't it? That the chamber can't show you where you can't see her. Unless she entered through one of those doors on the other side of the chamber," Hermione suggested hesitantly. "Wait, Hermione. You're all right. What's going on here?" Ron questioned. "That's not Hermione. That's someone using Ploy Juice Potion to disguise as her," Snape pointed out, as he pulled his wand and sapped the imposter, turning it into a pile of ash and tossing the rest of the ingredients into a fire nearby. As Snape turned back to face his friends, he saw they already had their wands out and ready to attack. He lowered his wand slightly. "Are you okay though?" Harry asked worriedly as he put his hands down. "Perfectly fine, just a little tired from our night of searching," said Snape dismissively. "Now I suggest we begin looking for her ourselves," he said sternly. "We need a plan, Snape. If we take too long, the teachers will catch wind of what happened and alert them. They're all Dumbledore's assassins. We must take caution." "Now let's go," Snape declared heroically. Harry, Ron, Snape, Ginny and Lupin rushed off to confront Dumbledore and save Hermione. Meanwhile Harry, Snape and Ron managed to convince their fellow Gryffindors that they needed to act quick, before they were caught. As soon as possible the four friends arrived at the top of the dungeon staircase and hurried along the hallway to the headmaster's office. As Harry pushed open the door he gasped loudly in horror. Inside lay Dumbledore's lifeless body, covered by a blanket. He had fallen asleep sitting upright in his chair, and a black cat was curled up by his feet. "Oh no!" Harry yelled in horror. Dropping his sword, Ron cursed loudly, then proceeded to pull out his own sword. "Put that thing away. Now is not the time," Lupin shouted. "Sorry," said Ron, putting it away again. "Right then, why did you try kill me, old man?" snapped Snape as he pointed his wand at Dumbledore's body. But nothing happened. The old wizard didn't stir in the slightest. Suddenly the cat started growling furiously. jumped up and scratched Ron across the face, causing blood to flow profusely from his nose. "Look what you've done. You've killed Dumbledore!" Snape screamed in rage. "It's a trick," Lupin said, ignoring Ron's screaming. "The cat. He's turned himself into that cat," Harry pointed out. "Why wouldn't he have done so without killing us?" "Look, Snape, the cat is acting weird. We have to get rid of him somehow," said Ron, pointing his wand at the cat menacingly. But Snape was blocking his view, so Ron had to wait until Snape moved aside to hit the cat with another spell. It landed a direct hit, leaving its mark on the cat, causing it to shriek and jump around hysterically. "There has got to be something I can do," yelled Ron, panicking. "There is something magical happening." "What the hell are you talking about, Weasley?" "The cat is a fake," Snape yelled angrily. "But it's not," Ron insisted. "Look at it." Snape looked at the cat and noticed that it was indeed a fake. "How did you do that?" Snape demanded. "I don't know," Ron replied. 500 points from Gryffindor for Weasley's stupidity. Snap snarled. "Let's get that cat," Lupin demanded. "He's a Death Eater. He's been working for Dumbledore all along," Harry said, pointing his wand at the cat alongside Lupin. "Kill him," he yelled, causing the cat to fly across the room and land with a thud against the wall. They ran over to the spot and peered down at the inert body. A moment later it began to shake violently, and soon morphed into the real Black, which was clearly confused and terrified. "What the hell happened?" Snape asked, stunned. "Don't look surprised," Harry snapped sarcastically at his friend, who immediately turned his gaze to the cat, which had slowly transformed itself back into Hermione. "Hermione," said Ron in shock as they walked toward her, kissing her on the cheek. "What happened?" Hermione questioned, rubbing her head. "I was unconscious and I think I passed out for a few minutes, but when I awoke I was in the castle." "Is everybody safe?" she asked anxiously. "Well, that would depend on how you mean safe, love," said Snape, smirking evilly. "You know what you'll have to deal with soon enough once the others wake up. I'm sure they won't be quite pleased that you're alive."